Welcome to Caliban Command. Today we are covering the next two detachments, the Ironstorm Spearhead and the Firestorm Assault Force. I'd like to pay special attention to the Firestorm Assault Force and would love feedback on what you all think of Dark Angels using it. I think it's a neat choice for us to use with heavy Terminator lists, and I think our Deathwing inspired detachments will play similarly if not identically. The Ironstorm Spearhead is a heavily vehicle-based army build. Armored Wrath is the detachment rule allowing you to reroll one hit roll, one wound roll, and one damage roll per unit per turn. I'd recommend keeping a marker to keep track of what has spent their rerolls each turn. The enhancements here are largely for Tech Marines, with 50% of them only being able to be applied to Tech Marines. First of the enhancements is the Target Augury Web. A Tech Marine with it grants vehicles within 6 inches of it lethal hits. The Flesh is Weak grants the bearer for a Feel No Pain. I'd place this on a lone operative myself as it provides no benefit to a squad. Adept of the Omnissiah can be taken by a Tech Marine, and once per battle round, when a vehicle within 6 inches fails a saving throw, you can change the damage characteristic of that attack to 0. Master of Machine War. The bearer has a 6-inch aura that grants vehicles within the aura the ability to shoot after having advanced or fell back. The stratagems for this detachment seem to be largely defensive. Unbound Conviction can be activated during the command phase. It allows that unit to ignore any particular modifier or all modifiers to a test or roll, excluding saving throws. Costs 1 command point each time you activate it. Armor of Contempt can be activated during your opponent's shooting or fight phase and reduces the AP of incoming attacks towards your unit by 1. It also costs 1 command point. Mercy is Weakness. During your shooting or fight phase, one of your units, while attacking a unit below its starting strength, gains sustained hits 1, and if it's a vehicle, it critically hits on 5 or higher. This costs 1 command point. Vengeful Animus. Anytime a vehicle from your army is destroyed, if it has the Deadly Demise ability, you do not roll for it to explode. Instead, it explodes automatically, and instead inflict its mortal wounds based on its Deadly Demise ability. It costs, once again, 1 command point. Ancient Fury. During your command phase, one walker model from your army can improve its move, toughness, leadership, and objective control by 1, and when it attacks, add 1 to the hit rolls. This costs 1 command point. Power of the Machine Spirit. During your opponent's shooting phase, after their unit resolves their attacks, a vehicle that was brought below half strength can shoot back at that target. I give this detachment a 4 out of 8. It's a bit too vehicle-tailored in my opinion. It fits the Iron Hands, which it should, but for our purposes, I think we are better off with other choices. Ravenwing may make good use of this, but they have some options we will cover later on in this series. The Firestorm Assault Force is one I'd love to hear what you all think about. I think this one has some potential with our Terminator lists. Please tell me what you think in the comments section. I'd love to get more opinions on it. Close Range Eradication gives all our ranged weapons assault. Any assault weapons at 12 inch and closer gain +1 strength while shooting. The enhancements here are fun too. Champion of Humanity, which can only go on Tacticus models, allows the unit to ignore any or all modifiers. This includes saving throws, but can still make for an interesting choice if your opponent is using hit modifiers or leadership modifiers. War-Tempered Artifice adds 3 strength to the model's melee weapons. This is a solid contender for making characters into anti-vehicle units. Forged in Battle allows you to change a saving throw to a 6. This is a solid choice, but can only be used by a model leading a unit, so independent characters receive no benefit. Adamantine Mantle reduces damage by 1 except Melt and Torrent weapons, which have their damage become 1 instead. All 4 enhancements are strong contenders here. I don't always say that about a detachment, but I think Adamantine Mantle and War-Tempered Artifice are the strongest character buffs for independent characters, while Champion Humanity is the strongest squad buff. Armor of Contempt once again costs 1 command point and reduces the AP of incoming attacks during your opponent's shooting or fight phases by 1. Still a solid defensive option while holding objectives here. Crucible of Battle grants you a +1 to wound the nearest target within 6 inches during your shooting or fight phase. This one costs 1 command point, and honestly I think this is a really cost-effective way to help out both melee and ranged units. Aggressors can serve fairly solid anti-vehicle damage with their fists already, but this can make them far more likely to wound. Rapid embarkation allows you to load a unit into a transport that was empty so long as the transport is within 6 inches of the unit. This can be done at the end of a fight phase and costs 1 CP. This is a solid way to reposition your unit post-fight phase to preserve them. Immolation Protocol gives torrent weapons devastating wounds for a squad. This can be activated during your shooting phase and costs 2 command points. Onslaught of Fire costs 1 command point. It requires a unit to have disembarked from a transport that turn and is activated during your shooting phase. When you select a target for shooting that is within 12 inches, you add 1 to the hit roll, and if that unit suffers any casualties from those attacks, that unit suffers a battle shock test. Burning Vengeance. During your opponent's shooting phase, just after a unit's attacks are resolved against that transport, a unit embarked within a transport can immediately disembark and shoot at the unit that's resolved its attacks against that transport. This costs 1 command point and is a hyper-specific stratagem. It can come up, but you also have to have something with really solid firepower to make it worth setting up. 6 out of 8 is what I'd give this detachment. I think it's a fairly fun detachment and gives up some neat options on how we use some units. One example is how it affects our Desolation squads. Giving them Assault, for instance, makes for an interesting interaction where advancing no longer shuts down their shooting. This also benefits units like Eradicators. That's all at this time, and I'd like to hear what you guys think of this detachment in particular. I'd also like to hear thoughts on any of the others as I go through this video series. There are some that I just think are a little bit more interesting to dig into, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the different ways we can build our armies. We're going to talk about Hobbytown now. They are the sponsors of our channel currently, and they have a phenomenal array of painting tools. They have paints, they have models, they have everything that you could possibly need. Not to mention, their staff have always been super knowledgeable about anything that I've picked up there. They've made some recommendations for how I could improve my hobby flow. They've gone through the effort of helping me find a starting point in 40k in a faction that I love. I've played Dark Angels now for years, and that's largely thanks to them helping me figure out what faction fit me the best. The series as a whole has been a blast to work with them on. They've helped me find stuff for Age of Sigmar that I enjoy. They've ordered stuff in that I haven't had access to before. They've helped me find paint alternatives when they didn't have a Citadel paint that I needed. They've helped me find new board games to play. It has genuinely just been a really helpful crew to work with. They stock Army Painter, GW, Testers, Tamiya. They have Mission Models paints, which I got the pleasure of trying out recently and had a really great time with. They stock Gundam kits, anime kits of various types. They have the Vallejo paint line, which I use a lot when I do Gunpla to just really bring out some neat color combinations with. They have all kinds of fun in there, and I genuinely cannot recommend the store enough. I hope you guys check them out. Even if you can't find a local branch, I hope you check out their online store at hobbytown.com.